Monday Night Football in Week 3 has real Game of the Week potential. The Detroit Lions visiting the Baltimore Ravens. Two teams off of massive wins in Week 2. We'll break it all down for you. We'll have best bets. We'll talk about Lamar Jackson and Jared Goff and this spread, which has seen some interesting line movement this week, in my opinion. And of course, we'll address much, much more. Welcome to the channel. I am Ninja, joined by Tony Farmer, fresh off a 2-0 appearance for last week's Monday Night Doubleheader. So stick around for his pick for this one. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts on this game in the comment section below. Tony, let me start with the spread here. Open at 5.5 or 6. Now I'm seeing some 4.5s out there. Your thoughts on the line move here this week? Are the Detroit Lions really that much of a public team?
Yeah, it actually was 6.5 before last Sunday's game. So odds makers came out and said, you know what, the Lions impressed me enough to adjust this by about a half point or a point. And the betting market said, you need to adjust that a little bit more. So I do think it changes our perception of who the Lions are. I can speak for myself. Coming into this season, I had concerns about the Lions losing their offensive coordinator, losing their defensive coordinator. And then after that rough Week 1 performance, you start to think there's something to that. And then all of a sudden in Week 2, they say, not too fast. We're still the Detroit Lions. We're going to be just fine on offense without Ben Johnson. So yeah, it's a huge perception changer.
So then hold that thought. Do you think this line opened where it did because of that big Lions win against the Bears in Week 2 as sort of a reaction to that? Or was that number warranted regardless?
No, I think that had a big piece to do with it. You saw the total go up too. The total was 51.5 before the game. The total now sits at 53.5. I think that also has a piece to do with it. People are like, this Lions offense is going to be A-okay moving forward.
So then talk to me a little bit about that Week 2 win then. They put up 52 points in a division game. They win the game by 30 plus. So was it a case, in your opinion, of the Lions slowly figuring it out in a post-Ben Johnson world, or is it more attributed to the Chicago Bears just being that bad?
I think it might be a little bit of both. Like when you have a team with a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, we know it takes some time in order to get situated. You know, you got to work out things like blown coverages. The players need to understand the playbook and things like that. And the Lions ran into another team that had a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator in Week 2. So it was kind of just what the doctor ordered for them. That's not going to be the case on Monday. Monday, they're going up against one of the best coach teams in the NFL, John Harbaugh's staff. So they better have their pieces together. It's going to be a big test for them moving forward. And if they put another impressive performance back to back, it's going to erase all questions moving forward for the Lions.
I do want to talk about that matchup with this very good on paper Ravens team. But let me ask you this. In that Bears-Lions game, was Dan Campbell running it up against his old offensive coordinator when he went for 7 late, sort of midway, late-ish through the fourth quarter, instead of maybe just kicking a field goal?
He was, but this is who Dan Campbell is, right? Like, I don't think it's personal between him and Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was on the other side of this just last year. Remember Week 6? Cowboys fans remember this one, 47-9 final score. The score was 37-9. And Ben Johnson calls a hook and lateral to an offensive lineman, a trick play in that game, up by that many points. So I think Ben Johnson understands. I don't think he did it because it was Ben Johnson. I think he did it because that's who Dan Campbell is. And I think Ben Johnson probably understands that.
Let's talk about the Ravens here. I know that Baltimore had a bit of a get-right game and performance against Cleveland last week. But like you've mentioned here, the Detroit offense is not the Cleveland Browns. Baltimore's defense was weak, sort of collapsed down the stretch against Buffalo, even though on paper, this is one of the top units in the league. Do you think they could have their hands full against this Lions offense that just put up 52 points last week?
Yeah, I think this Ravens defense is very good. I think they're now probably underrated because of that performance that you mentioned, giving up almost 400 yards to Josh Allen in this one. I'm interested to see how Green, Kyle Van Noy's replacement, second-round rookie, how he does in this game. He's out of Marshall. If you look at his Pro Football Focus grade in the 24 run defense snaps that he's played this year, 45.2 run defense grade. That ranks 139th out of 148 edge defenders. If I'm Detroit, I'm running right at that kid in the first half, and I'm going to make him prove that he can stop the run when he's on the field. So this is probably one of those games where you see the Lions do that whole like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, we're going to call a draw or some sort of a run play and then go for it on fourth down, you might see, that sort of play calling in this one.
So then with that in mind, I'll put you on the spot here. Do you think this is a spot to look at, say, Jahmyr Gibbs props in this one?
Yeah, I think this is a nice overnight for Jahmyr Gibbs for sure.
I was doing a little digging, uncovered, it's probably more well known. I'm just giving myself a pat on the back here. Lamar Jackson, 24-2, Tony, against the NFC in his career in games that he's started. When you see or when you consider a stat, a QB record like that, does it change anything for you from a betting perspective, or do you toss something like that just straight out the window?
I kind of toss that aside. I think what that stat is intending to convey is that NFC teams see Lamar Jackson a little less often, so they're going to be a little less prepared for him. He's going to kind of catch them off guard with their speed, etc. It would mean more to me if it's like a divisional stat, because you've got that familiarity. You play a team twice a year. So if we're comparing how teams outside of the Ravens division do against Lamar Jackson, that would mean more to me. Or how about this? How do first-time defensive coordinators do against Lamar Jackson? A stat like that would mean more to me than the AFC, NFC thing. And by the way, it is going to be a first-time coordinator against Lamar Jackson tonight. This guy's never called plays against Lamar Jackson, so we'll see how it works out for him.
Tough challenge ahead, absolutely. And before we get into Tony's pick for this one, DraftKings has a feature called Early Exit, which could save you from a losing bet if your bet is significantly impacted by a player leaving the game early to injury and not returning. You can receive cash credits equal to your original stake. This impacts singles and even parlays where the impacted leg will be removed if the parlay wins without that leg. So if you do not have a DraftKings account, you can hit that link down below in the description and get signed up there today. We've talked about the numbers here, Tony. We're looking at Baltimore as a 4.5-point home fave here. You mentioned it, the total 53.5 here. The under is -115. Real interesting game. Like I said off the top, has game of the week potential. What are you betting for this one?
I bet over at Bet365 under 27.5. It's an alt first line total. It was originally 26.5. You can get it at -135 right now. I just think both teams in the first half are really going to try to run the ball early on. I could see a scenario later, maybe overtime, maybe shootout scenario at the end of the game, which is why I'm kind of steering away from the full game total here. But I do see a lot of running in the first half, and I think it's going to equate to a lower scoring first half.
And potentially some overs for a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs in this one.
Absolutely, yep.